Media Days, powered by Microsoft Copilot, your everyday AI companion. Just past the lunch hour here, 12:08 here in the great state of Texas, 1:08 in the East. Brock Osweiler, Greg McElroy, Matt Berry, Katie George is with us as well. You look at this conference, and we've been talking about it here for the first couple of hours of our coverage. The depth, 6 teams return 12 or more starters. That's more than any other conference in the league. And a lot of that, when you look at the star power of the Big 12 surrounding the quarterbacks and the 9 returning starting quarterbacks that some of these teams that are blessed to have one coming back have. And when you look at this list of players, I mean, these are big-time quarterbacks. Fafita for Arizona, probably a little bit under the radar because you've got Levitt, you've got Sawyer, you've got Rocco Beck, Sawyer Robertson. Gentlemen, as 2 quarterbacks are sitting up here on the desk with me, you have to love these quarterbacks coming back for these schools.
No question, and I think the best part about the quarterback play in the Big 12 is you can't get all the quarterbacks that are great up on that screen right now. When we were asked to prepare for this, and there's the next lineup of guys, this is deep. You know, you have 10, 12 quarterbacks that have potential to play at the next level in the National Football League one day. You have quarterbacks that are in conversation for the Heisman Trophy, making preseason All-American lists, top to bottom. So if you like scoring points, if you like watching good quarterback play, the Big 12 has no shortage.
What I like most is just kind of the diversity of skill set.
Yeah.
I mean, you have your traditional pocket passer. Now, everybody nowadays has some level of mobility, you know, but some guys really rely on their legs. Other guys want to kind of carve you up a little bit like a surgeon. Like Rocco Beck is a surgeon when I watch him. He knows where to go with the football, super accurate, gets the ball out, does an amazing job. Whereas a guy like Jalen Daniels, if something's going haywire and every single offensive lineman misses a block, he can make something out of nothing immediately. And I think there's so much growth and potential within this league, and I think there's so much excitement within this league because of the diversity too within the offensive schemes and what these quarterbacks are also asked to do. So it's really a fun league to study because every single guy you watch has a little different skill set than the guy you watched before.
Well, and every once in a while, a league will tip in your favor where that happens, right? Like we saw Avery Johnson as a true freshman. He would come in packages and say, wow, this kid's exciting. The starter ends up leaving, transfers out. It's Avery's team. Jalen Daniels at Kansas, he was one of those quarterbacks we're thinking, this guy's exciting to watch. He just happens to come back. And then you've got Sam Levitt, who was in a spring battle a year ago for the worst team in the Big 12. And now he's the preseason offensive player of the year and being mentioned as a Heisman Trophy candidate, an NFL quarterback. So even the guys like Baron Morton, we just talked to Joey McGuire. Of the guys that are on that list, maybe he's not the biggest name, but there's a lot of programs around the country that will love Baron Morton.
Yeah, no question. And you both have said the word potential. And there's the guys that have proven, Sam Levitt, Sawyer Robinson, Baron Morton when he's healthy. But then you think of a guy like Avery Johnson at Kansas State, and you mentioned, you know, a true dual-threat quarterback. He's a talented passer. He's a fantastic runner. But if he grows as a passer, last year, sub 60% completions, had some turnovers in some bad spots. But if he grows and becomes a more prolific passer, what does Kansas State do this year? And that's what's exciting to watch.
And Josh Hoover just up the road at TCU. I mean, in Sonny Dykes' offense, you just show up to the game, you're going to go for the 303 touchdown. And that's another team that came on at the end of the season in TCU. So when it comes to quarterbacks across the country, you could argue, maybe not be an argument, it's the best quarterback conference in the league, or in the country. So having said that, you've got all these quarterbacks to choose from. As I mentioned, there are 9 of them that return starters. You guys had the task of choosing your top 5. I will allow you to flip a coin. Who wants to go first?
Let him go
We're going to let Osweiler go first. Who are your top 5 quarterbacks in the Big 12?
Yeah, so my top 5, you have to start with Sam Levitt at Arizona State. Just what he did last season for the Sun Devils, leading them to a Big 12 title, double overtime in the Peach Bowl against Texas, just so close to getting to the semifinal. Sawyer Robertson, someone who's skyrocketing up NFL draft boards. You talk to scouts, they say if he puts it together this year, he has a chance to be a first-round pick in the upcoming draft. Rocco Beck going into his 3rd year, so consistent. Greg mentioned it. He'll dice you up with his arm, his brain, above the neck. And then you look at Baron Morton, if he can stay healthy, what he did last year, going into his 3rd year as a starter. And then we mentioned Josh Hoover just down the street. I mean, what he's done in that Sonny Dykes offense, it is just so entertaining to watch. I covered a lot of their games over the last couple years, and now for him going into his 3rd year as being a starter, that's the other thing. So much experience in this conference. It's going to be a ton of fun to watch these guys.
Yeah, I think both of our lists would look really different if we always had availability. And I think injuries have kind of defined some of these guys. Baron Morton is an example. Jalen Daniels, who makes my list at number 5, is also another example. When he's on the field, Kansas is a major problem. When he's not on the field, and he hasn't been very often the last couple of years, they're not quite the same. Josh Hoover, I think, is crazy efficient. I think the sky's the limit for what he's going to be. I like the additions they've also made at wide receiver. And that offense, can't play quarterback by yourself. I love Rocco Beck's plan. I love how he approaches the game as a professional. I look at Sawyer Robertson, a guy that was also not that dissimilar to Sam Levitt. Didn't even really have the keys of the car until 4 or 5 games into the season last year. He just got better and better and better as the season goes along. And to me, it's Sam Levitt at number 1 by a pretty decent sized margin. And it's partly because I look at him and I see similar qualities to Zach Wilson from BYU a couple years ago.
Wow, yeah.
A guy who in 2019 there were flashes and you're like, all right, this guy's legit, but he didn't really do it all the time. And then you saw in 2020, he became one of the best quarterbacks in the country. I'm expecting that same growth from Sam Levitt. I think he's a top 2, top 3 quarterback in all of college football coming back this year based on the skill set and what he did last year and how he rose to the occasion to get in the biggest games against Iowa State and against Texas in the bowl game. Really optimistic about what this year could look like for him.
You talk about Levitt's growth throughout the season. We had them on Thursday Night Football against Texas State. We were in our coaches' meetings. Dan Mullen, now the head coach at UNLV, and we're talking to Kenny and Marcus Roy, the offensive coordinator. We're saying, well, Sam, you can see flashes. Where's he need to get better? He just needs to improve the deep ball. He's not good at the deep ball. And he had a couple of deep balls in that game, get overthrown, underthrown. And then out of nowhere, to your point, you watch the quarterback grow in front of your eyes. Then he becomes one of the best quarterbacks in the country. The deep ball became one of his strengths, and now he's the offensive preseason player of the year to show for it after the playoff run. Devin Dampier, he transfers into Utah. They're really excited about him, an Arizona high school player. And then Jacob Rodriguez, the defensive player of the year, some of the preseason awards. But Greg, that just goes to show you, when you're in the right place at the right time with the right coach and the right scheme, you legitimately grow in front of the country's eyes. And I think that's what we saw out of Sam Levitt and some of these other players last year that are just in the right place at the right time.
I think belief, too. I mean, the thing about quarterback is you're not going to be great until you really believe that you can be great. The confidence level is huge. And you saw it grow tremendously over the course of the year. I mean, first 6, 7, 8 games, all anyone talked about was Cam Scatterbo.
Yeah.
No one talked about what Sam Levitt was doing. No one talked about what Tyson was doing at wide receiver, but it was all about Scatterbo. And then you watch him, you're like, hang on a second, this quarterback just made a tremendous read on an RPO and fit it into a really tight window. Why isn't anyone talking about him? So I think the world was a little late to find out about him last year, but now, with a ton of expectations and a ton of people back in his supporting cast, I think the sky's the limit. So yeah, right place, right time, but also believing in oneself.
That's right.
To be able to reach your own potential is huge as well.
And you played quarterback at Arizona State. You understand what it's like when that thing is going and when everyone's starting to believe. And I don't think that there's any program in the country right now with a young head coach coming off one of the most surprising years we've ever seen in college football, believing that they now have a place at the table.
No question. Tempe can be one of the best atmospheres in college football when the Sun Devils are winning games. You know, Kenny Dillingham, a lot of conversation there, but don't forget who the play caller is for Sam Levitt. Marcus Arroyo, one of the best, I think, in the game. Don't forget what he did at Oregon with Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
They lit up the skies in Eugene. So now they're coming into their second season together. Sam knows he's the guy. They've had a whole offseason to work this thing together. It's going to be really exciting to see what they do down there in Tempe this year.
3:25 p.m. Eastern. Kenny Dillingham and the Sun Devils, they'll join us up here as well to talk what was one of the great seasons we've seen in quite some time from the worst team, according to the coaches, a year ago, which, by the way, got rid of preseason polls. Thank God
Great
for
move.
that. It's a great move. Also a great move, Dave Aranda at Baylor. He has the Bears thinking sick 'em this year. They're another team that you can easily see winning this conference. The Baylor Bears head coach, Dave Aranda.
Baylor Bears is coming up right after this. Don't you go anywhere.